We've had a long break since we last read The Toxic Parents. I think it's been 2 months or something. Yeah, a long time. And some of you, it also may be your first time attending this. So for any of you who don't know, we're reading, it's a New York Times bestseller, Toxic Parents. And we're going very slowly through it. Sometimes we read one sentence in the hour and we talk about it. Sometimes we read a few pages. But this book is full of stories. And oftentimes it's very painful stories to hear. So, you know, if you're feeling uncomfortable, it might have triggered something, a memory from you from your childhood, or you didn't realize something about someone else in your life. So, you know, you are free to leave if you need to leave. It can be really triggering, and I'm not trying to make it triggering. It's a good sign if you get triggered, because that means, oh, that's something I didn't realize that I need to work on. But don't feel that if you're upset that you need to stay the whole time. The other thing I'll say is that this group is not a therapy group. So even though I'm a psychologist and I do therapy with people, I don't do it here. So if you have like personal questions, you know, my mother did this or my father did that or something, those kind of things are going too far into a danger zone for a group, because this isn't really a group therapy. But you could ask it generally. If you're like, oh, I think my mom was like that, you can try to make the question general, and then I can answer it. Okay? If you want to ask something personal, you can sign up for that Ask Dr. Joshi, write your personal question there, and then I'll see, and if I think, okay, this could be good, but it's getting too much, I might write back to you and say, okay, can we leave that part out but share this part? Or it might be fine. Let's see. Okay? But this group is more trying to understand the dynamics of what I'm describing or what's in the book, and not too much sharing your personal thing about it. Although the questions are okay that way, but not too much. So you'll get the feel of it if I steer you back and I say that's too personal. All right? Any questions? Ready? Okay. So let's read this. So where we left off was on page 51. I think I folded it right at the title of Why Do I Sell Myself Out to My Parents? But I didn't mark it. Is that right? Okay. So let's start there. So why do I sell myself out to my parents? Money has always been the primary language of power, making it a logical tool for controlling parents. Many toxic parents use money to keep their children dependent. Kim came to see me with a variety of concerns. At 41, she was overweight, unhappy with her work, and divorced with 2 teenage children. She felt stuck in a rut. She wanted to lose weight, to take some risks in her career, and to find some direction in her life. She was convinced that her problems could all be solved if she could only find Mr. Right. As our session went along, it became clear that Kim believed she was nothing without a man to take care of her. I asked her where she had gotten this idea. Anybody have any ideas on that? Where, as in a 41-year-old woman, where would she get that idea? That she's nothing unless she has a man to take care of her. Nine Shri, are your wheels turning? Mohini's being awfully quiet? No idea? Alex? Okay, so let's use the mic so the people online can hear us too. There should be like a mic around here, right here, Alex. Malika has one.
Daddy.
Daddy. So what do you mean by that?
Like her father. Was. Yeah, that's what
Okay, so something about her father. What do you guys think her relationship might have been like with her father if she thinks that the only way she can be happy in her life is if she finds Mr. Right, if she has a man? What do you think? How would her father have been? What do you think, Vilas?
I suppose that her father didn't make her feel strong and independent and empowered, but very dependent, and therefore she might be missing this manly figure in her life, this fatherly figure who figures everything out for her.
And also, good, very good. And also, do you think, I haven't looked to see what the next thing says, but he's talking about, this doctor is talking about money, right? And control. So I wonder if the dad was always trying to control her with money too. Let's see. But there's something there, right? If we're going to dig into samskara land. Let's see. Well, certainly not from my husband. It was more like I had to take care of him. I met him when I was right out of college. He was 27, still living with his parents, and really floundering about what he was going to do for a living. But he was sensitive and romantic, and I fell for him. My father totally disapproved, but I think he was secretly pleased that I picked someone who couldn't get it together. When I insisted on marrying him, my father told me he would support us for a while. There we go, right? So the father's going to support. And if worse came to worst, he'd give my husband a job in his company. The father's going to control, even though it sounds like such a nice father. But he's not letting them get their wings, right? Of course, this makes my father sound like a terrific guy. You think, Malika? I heard, What do you think? Terrific.
That she's already defending her father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it gave him an incredible hold over us. Even though I was married, I was still Daddy's little girl. You got it, Alex. My father kept bailing us out financially, but in return for that, he got to tell us how to live our lives. I was playing house and raising babies, and yet, Kim broke off in mid-sentence. And yet what, I asked. She looked down at the floor as she finished. And yet, I still needed Daddy to take care of me. I asked Kim if she could see the connection between her relationship with her father and her dependence on men to make her life okay. You know what's so interesting? Probably most of us see that, right? When you're reading it, it's not that hard to make that connection, right? But when it's happening to you, it's so hard to see it. You know? When it's happening, because it's your samskar. It's a samskar that got made in the first 7 years of your life, you know? I mean, earlier than that you're very dependent on your father, if that was the one, right? So it's just normal to you. You're not going to think, and then you're not going to see that connection. You know, you'll say something like, no, but, and then you'll pick the one thing that's different. My father was like that, but my husband's like that. Or you know, a lot of times, you know, when I'm working with clients, I'll say, do you see that's apples to apples? No, I don't. And then they'll say, my father was an actor, and my husband's a businessman. They're not anything alike. I'm like, no, it's not about that. You know, you can get very confused if you don't get the analogy, so you have to look at how they make you feel. That's the trick. They can be completely different. No, my father was an alcoholic. My husband has never had a drink in his life. It doesn't matter. If they have that addictive tendency, then it's alcoholic, something-aholic. Maybe they're addicted to working, you know? But so you have to look for the more subtle thing about how they make you feel. Do they make you feel important? Do they make you feel like in control of your own life? You know, like this father's not making her feel in control of her own life. So she'll pick some guy who makes her feel that in some way. You know, that's how the samskara works. But because it's in our unconscious mind, it's completely invisible. So when somebody points it out to you, it's like, sometimes you get in the worst fights with your family members who are the closest to you. They're like, oh my God, you just married Dad. You know, I didn't marry Dad. He's nothing like Dad. It's like, okay, okay, let's give it some time. But, you know, so it's very tricky, but that's why it's helpful to read these stories and see it in someone else, black and white, and analyze them, and then think, is there something like that happening in my life in any way? May not be with a partner, but is there something that I'm not seeing, you know, that's so subtle, but it's kind of playing out in that way. And one way you can find it is if you're any area of your life that you're not comfortable. Something that's not feeling right, something that's not comfortable. It's probably a samskara that you can't see, you know? Were you going to ask a question?
Yeah. My question is about as we recognize these samskaras and as we move and maybe we change relationships and they seem to get subtler and more and different, but they're still, I mean, in my experience, they're still around, they're still there. So how...
Lingering.
What did you say?
Lingering.
Lingering,
Yeah.
right. Like, is there a way to, I guess, fully, cut the cord or a way to really recognize the subtler ways that they're showing up?
That's a good question. They do get more subtle. Once you feel like you got out of one, you're like, yes, I'm not going to do that one again. And you're like, OMG, I did it again. Shoot, you know. Or it may not be the same, or it may not be as strong, but somehow here I am again. You know, being controlled by a man. Just say, like in this case. So what I would say is, one is that you can even just write down what your samskaras are, so they're there. on a piece of paper. Like, okay, I always pick the guy who's gonna, or the woman who's gonna, whatever that one is that you're aware of, write it down. And write down how you feel, how the whole thing goes. So you have it on paper, it's different than if you just have it on your head and it's like this subtle thing, but you see it and you're like, some of my clients, I have them map it out so they have a map where they're like, here are my top 3. So if I'm triggered, I look there and I go, is it that one? No. That one? No. Oh, it's that one. So just raising your level of awareness of it is really good. Another thing is, because you're asking about some scars related to relationships, it's good to take that survey that we made to see that your Sambandha style. Babaji and I made a survey on our website. It's there's a tab, we just reorganized a little. I think there's a tab called relationships. Is that? Yeah, I took parenting off. On the top, there's a tab called relationships. And on there, you can take a survey that we made called What's Your Sambandha Style? And you can be one of 4 styles. So once you get you understand, okay, I'm the Swarti type, I'm the avoidant attachment style. Once you understand your type, then you can see very clearly that's your foundation. That's formed in the first year of your life. It's very hard to get out of, and it's very hard to see it. But once you start almost like meditating on it, in other words, watch yourself in every relationship. It's not just the romantic ones. The romantic ones, it comes more intensely. But every relationship, you do it. So that's one way to say, and if you read the characteristics we wrote, the video we made of a sampled person who's like that, then you can start going, oh, and start seeing which ones you're doing, Then you can catch them more quickly, because the name of the game is awareness. Once you're aware, just say that you didn't have any idea you had like really bad body odor, but then all of a sudden your sense of smell came back and you're like, oh God, and you probably shower more often and wear some deodorant or something, But if you're not even aware, you're just gonna let it keep going like that. So raise the awareness on all the characteristics first, and naturally then you'll start trying to go, I don't want to do that to people. Oh, no wonder why I lost that friend, because I acted in those ways, Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good question. Anything else? Good? Okay. Huh? Oh, the page number? Sorry. Page 52. Halfway down, right? So we said, I still needed Daddy to take care of me. I asked him if she could see the connection between her relationship with her father and her dependence on men to make her life okay. Now, even though this lady, Dr. Susan Forward, doesn't have any idea probably what a samskara is, that's what that question is saying. Can you see any connection between your relationship now, right, and between your dependence on men? So the way she learned how to be dependent on men was because of her dad, right? That's the samskara in the relationship now. So that's how you can also figure out your samskara. Anything that's giving you trouble, because in other words, we have a lot of great samskaras too. So we don't need to touch those. But whenever there's some area where we're struggling, where we're not comfortable with something in our life, then we can say, okay, is there any connection between how I'm feeling right now with that person, in that relationship, in that job, in that location? So you can ask, you can introspect and try to find the feeling, not the situation, just the feeling. And if your feeling is disgusted, I hate that person, I'm disgusted. Okay, I hate that person, I'm disgusted. Why? Write down what it is, and then try to say, is this the first time I've ever hated somebody and felt disgusted about somebody because, and write the reason why. And then you can start saying, oh no, wait a minute. My older sister was like that to me. She was such a bitch, or whatever, So you can try it back and see the original blueprint that got made in you, that's samskara. And that's very important because the samskara colors your vision of the person in front of you today. You're not really seeing that person as they are. All that baggage of whoever hurt you originally in your childhood is getting dumped on that person. So that's why we talk about samskaras all the time. You've got to find out what that samskara is that might be troubling you. And it may not be a person. It may be getting dumped onto a location. If you've had something similar related to, who knows? There's many ways samskaras play out. But that's why this book, we're reading it because it's our personality. This book is talking about how our personality was formed, because it's formed in the first 7 years of your life by your relationship with your parents, unless you were adopted, But whoever those people are that raised you in those first 7 years, that's pretty much, it's like clay that gets some writing in there and it gets hardened. And then you operate on that system the rest of your life. But we don't realize that, so we think the people, the relationships, the situations, are whatever's troubling us is that person right here, right now, when really it's like something's coloring our vision, which is how our mother treated us or didn't, how our mother maybe ignored us or whatever, or was aggressive to us. So that's why those surveys are really important as a starting point. First, figure out your type, your Sambandha style, and then figure out how the hell that happened, basically. So then you take the parenting style survey and you see, oh, my mom was authoritarian. She was totally harsh to me. She wasn't warm at all. No wonder why I'm. So once you take those, it will help you get the framework of what the invisible part that we can't see of ourselves. Those two surveys will help. And it will help understand this book better too, in more depth. Okay? So let's see what Kim says. There's no question that my father was the most powerful person in my life. He was really adoring when I was little. But when I started to have a mind of my own, he couldn't handle it. He'd have these screaming fits if I dared to disagree with him. Does anybody know what parenting style that is? The father has a screaming fit if the child disagrees. Authoritarian. Can you get the mic? Authoritarian. So do you know what the description is of an authoritarian style parent?
I know it's about control, right? And about using anger and fear to control.
Yeah. So this type of parent will be use maybe anger. They're controlling. There's no warmth. So it's very important as a child that you have two things, but with your parents, how you're being brought up. One, you have boundaries. They say, no, it's not okay. You can't have 10 cookies for dinner. You can have one after dinner if you eat your dinner. That would be an authoritative type of parent. But authoritarian will say, what the hell are you thinking? You can't have any cookies. You didn't do your homework, you idiot. That's very harsh. Authoritative makes a boundary, though. Says you can, but there's some limitations and rules and what you have to do. But it's warm. It's warm. Then the next type, does anyone remember that? So that's authoritarian is the worst. Authoritative is the best. There's two in the middle. Does anybody remember?
Then we also have the neglectful. Neglectful. Right, so neither structure nor warmth.
No boundaries, no warmth. It's just free for all, So the kid will be eating, on the floor with the dog, eating the cereal, and then writing on the wall, and then jumping on the bed and staying up till midnight playing on the iPad. No boundaries, and no warmth. Just ignoring. So this could also look like, because kids, that's actually normal for kids to do that. There's nothing wrong with the kid. It's normal to be playful and you don't know the rules because you're like a little baby. It's normal to do that. But maybe the mom, it's not that they're a bad parent. It's just that they're probably stressed. Maybe they have to work full time. So who's going to take care of the kid? Maybe they're depressed. Sometimes, mothers, they'll unfortunately lose a child, So what if you're the child who survived and your mother lost your sister or brother or something? They're so depressed. That's the worst kind of depression that I've seen with the clients I've worked is child loss. It's very hard to get over that. People get divorced after that, or it's just a very difficult one, right? So maybe the mom's depressed. It's not that she's a bad mom or anything, but she can't be there for the kids. So she's just whatever, that she can barely make it through the day. So it could be a mental health issue. It could be that she has to work full time. It could be that she's drinking alcohol. It could be the parents are fighting. Whatever the reason is, she's neglecting the child's needs. But I'm giving extreme cases. There's more subtle ones where she's there, but she's not really there. She didn't ask you, how did you do in school today? Or what do you want for dinner? Or, she's not really in touch with you. Maybe she has too many kids. That's another one. Where there's 10 kids, It's how are you going to get attention? You're just like one of them. You just line up, brush the hair, brush your teeth, eat the food, So it's hard to tell what the neglectful reason is, but when you study the 4 types of parenting types, it's easier to understand how the other ones are not so good. Because authoritative, the mother's attuned. And there's a whole field of science literally just about attunement. Attunement, how to attune to your child's feelings and needs. And that's how you create a healthy, well-adjusted child, and it's a very small percentage of people who had a mother like that. It's not the father's job. The mother has to do it. And that's when we talk about inner child work. When I talk about inner child, sometimes I mention it. That's the work we have to do if we didn't have a mother like that. We have to go in and learn how to nurture our inner child, because nobody can do it now. You can't even go back to your mom and be like, you know what, I figured out you were neglectful. And so now it's not going to work. What is she going to do? You can't. So basically the window closed in those first, basically year of life, 1 to 2 years of life, window has closed. And if mom couldn't do it, she couldn't do it. We don't want to now just go on and on blaming mom. Once we understand, okay, these are the ingredients that I didn't get, now I have to give it to myself. And so that's a lot of the work that's the work to get out of the samskara, actually. First you become aware, oops, I'm not that type, I'm that type, because I had a parent like that. And when you can get stuck is when you're bashing the parent. When you're like, and this is not what this book is for. It's just to raise your level of awareness. It's not to be like, I can't believe my mom is neglectful. Look at all the neglectful things she did. She was horrible. I'm going to talk to her about that. Or you're just on and on about it. So that's like in kind of tamasic mode. You get stuck. So we don't want to get stuck. We just want to get the information, become aware and say, oh, that's sad. I didn't get these things that I really needed, And then now I'm going to learn how to give them to myself. Okay? Yeah.
I'm curious about, is this process fully in the mind, and can it be fully done in the mind, or is there some embodiment aspect to it, or does there have to be, say, with that mother example, like a female connection that changes that samskara in the embodiment way too?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It depends on the person. So for some of my clients, I have to see, it's like you have to go on the X-ray machine, So I have to see in your mind exactly what the thing is. Is your finger broken, or is it your elbow, or is it here or there? So once I figure it out, and then I figure out your type, like what you're needing. In other words, some of my clients were never really held by their mother enough. They were just never held by mom. So they need the physical. They need to actually be held by a motherly figure. It's called cuddle therapy. It's a thing, and you go get cuddled. So it just depends, but I wouldn't say try to figure it out yourself and then go do it. I would say, talk to a therapist and have the therapist see what is the thing that you're missing. Find somebody who you trust, who you think is a good person who can help you see what are you missing. And then they'll tell you, or you can ask them, you can research the cuddle therapy and see. But I have some clients who have been doing cuddle therapy for years. Because to not have been held by your mother in a loving way, to have her not look into your eyes is extremely painful, because it makes you feel that you don't exist. So then you're always wondering, do I exist? You're always trying to get people to see me, look at me, So that's you have to build a trusting bond with a professional who knows how to do that with you. It's not like, oh, let me get a girlfriend and she'll cuddle me. That's bad news. Never works, Yeah, that doesn't work. So you have to go to somebody who knows how to do it and who knows how to keep the professional boundary and do the mothering thing for you, for the embodiment piece. There's some other things, but that's the main one that I see when we're going back to that attachment. If you didn't make that secure attachment with mom, And that takes a lot of trust. To literally put your head in someone's lap and have them stroke your hair and talk to you. And what I do with my clients is I prepare them for the session. So just say they had a mother who was like always yelling at them and abusive, then I'll have them write, we prepare and journal, he or she will journal, and we prepare what you want to say. And then when they go to the cuddle therapist, they explain, I get really triggered by this, can you speak to me in a soft way? And can you stroke my hair like this? And I'm uncomfortable if you don't touch me anywhere else, please. I'll just put my head here. Because when you've been abused or neglected, you don't trust yourself to be vulnerable, So you need to feel in control. So I help my clients prepare so they feel in control when they go, because it's very vulnerable. And it's not that all cuddle therapists are board certified. There's not really a such thing as that. So if you type in cuddle therapist, you'll see all these like prostitutes also, So it's not regulated. So it's like, I'll cuddle you, all right? It's like, oh, no. So some of my clients will be like, I found this, what do you think? I'm like, no, don't go there, And so that's why you have to be careful. And that's why I try to prepare my clients, like, let's make the list of what you need, what you're going to tell them, here's how to keep it safe, make sure it's on a certified, like, I think Cuddlist might be a good site. But anyway, it's not that popular, so it's hard to find a good one. But that is very much needed to feel held. Also hypnotherapy sometimes is helpful, because sometimes the block is so strong from what happened in your childhood, you can't see it. But I can tell by what you're telling me in the session, how you are in your adult relations. I'm like, okay, one of these things must have happened, and I'll say the things, and they're like, I don't have any memory. I have no memory. So sometimes if you go into hypnosis and you can get in there, and then they'll go, oh my God, I was sexually abused or something. So that's also a different, it's not so easy to just be like, oh, that's my samskara, and now I'm just gonna, it's not that easy. So that's a good question. We'll do whatever it takes to nurture your inner child once we figure out what the problem was, There's lots of things you can do. Okay, anything else?
So you were talking about samskara, that we can try to find the feelings of us right now feeling, and then we can connect that, okay, in the past we may have felt. I have been seeing that, okay, if I take an example, let's say I have felt invisible in front of a man, and then I can see, okay, in front of my father, I was also feeling invisible. So when it happens that if I feel invisible in front of that man, I cannot hold myself and I get triggered and I do some of the things. And later I may realize, okay, that was something about the samskara. But even if knowing this part, that okay, this is samskara, when I again get the feeling of invisibility, then again I act on that. So how can I work on this part and not project the things on the current person and then move out from that?
It's similar to the answer to his question. So basically these samskaras are so sneaky, they just come right up, and all of a sudden we're acting, and then we're like, and even if shoot, that's the invisible one again, So the more you can, number one, map it out, like, okay, I know one of my biggest ones is I feel invisible in front of a man, so you know that. So that means, that'd be like me if I know, what, if I don't eat by 2 p.m., I'm going to feel nauseous, I'm going to be so hungry. If you know that about your body, right, Jaya, right? If I don't eat by 9 a.m., right? So we all have a different body, vata, pitta, kapha, right? So if you've got pitta going on, you're hungry at a certain time, you're going to feel nauseous. Or what's that saying? Hangry? Is that hangry, right? Hangry, like I'm hungry and angry. That's a pitta. I can't even talk to you. I need my food, okay? Don't look at me, don't talk to me, I need my food, then I'm all shanti, right? So you have to know your body, right? And we all do. We all know our bodies quite well, especially when it comes to eating and going to the bathroom. I always use that example. I know it's so gross, but it's true. Like, I don't think anybody's sitting around here peeing their pants. Why is that? Why is that? Why isn't nobody peeing their pants right now? Seriously, what's the answer? Why are none of you guys peeing your pants right now, including me? Why Vilas?
Awareness.
Use your mic so everybody can hear online too. Awareness of what?
Awareness of sensation.
Yeah. Sensation to pee, right? Because were any of us born being able to not pee our pants? No, we all were peeing all the time, at least for probably the first year. And then eventually it's like you get potty trained, right? So honestly, I'm not trying to be rude, but our minds aren't potty trained. If we had parents who, I'm sorry to be biased, but had learned Vedic psychology and worked with their kids in this way, number one, they would have attuned to them, and number two, they'd be potty trained in their mind by age 3 or 4. So none of us have been potty trained, nobody. You have to learn how to potty train yourself now. That's what the awareness means. So you have to be aware, okay, I've got the invisible samskara. So like for me, I know, okay, I'm going to be here for an hour and a half. So I'm going to pee before I come. Why? Because I don't want to pee my pants, and I don't want to have to leave in the middle of my talk. Do you see how I thought of it beforehand? And I think we all did that. There's nobody who was like, oh shoot, now I have to pee. Psst, whoops, that's not going to happen. Right? It's so obvious and it's funny, but how many times do you pee your pants in a day with your emotions? Oh shoot, it's the invisible thing with the guy. How is that possible? Why? Because we're not aware of our mind. And it just runs wild. And then we're like, oh, it's the invisible thing. So that means when you wake up in the morning, you look at your samskara map and be like, oh yeah, that's the invisible one. And I know I'm going to see a man today probably. So most likely it's going to get triggered if I interact with him. So what can I do now, before I walk out of my door, to take care of that, just like I'm going to pee before I go to class? Same. It's just the more subtle part of the body is the mind, right? So then you would do what? If you're going to be that practical about it, what would you do then, before you leave your house tomorrow morning? You can phone a friend. Look, Vilas looks like he has some ideas.
Okay, I
Yeah.
have one guess.
Yes?
One could be that I can synthesize a little bit of my sense so that I can be a little bit more aware. And just like you said that I have already mapped out, so that will already remind me. So I go through my samskara before I leave my home. Yeah, that's the two things.
Hold on, let's go back. Was your mother neglectful to you?
Yeah.
Right, so you just neglected your inner child. You see how that works? Number one answer is take care of my inner child before I go out. And tell her, sweetheart, you know what? I know you get triggered because your father never saw you and neither did your mother. So it's going to be very painful today probably, because you're hoping for some guy who you talk to see you like Dad never did. But I see you, I've got you. We're going to go out and do our day, and when we get home, I'll be with you again, but I'm always with you, and we don't need some guy who's not Dad, just some random guy who's probably triggered by his own samskaras to all of a sudden see you. Okay, so I've got you. But do you see how automatically you're like, I have no idea what I do. Okay, how about this? Awareness of my samskara. You see how you're just completely neglecting your inner child? That's the power of your mother samskara, who wasn't attuned to you. So number one thing, just when I said that, and I was trying to throw you a ball, come on, if you have to pee, then pee before class. So if you know you're going to get triggered by your feelings, you have to take care of your inner child. You got a question, Vera? Does it make sense, or you have a question?
I wanted to ask, what if the feeling is so deeply down-rooted that it doesn't even come to the surface?
That you're not aware of it. So are you saying that you're...
I know that it is there, but it doesn't create any emotion because it was really
down
under the ground.
Yeah. A lot of time that happens actually. You have some feeling or there's some scar, but you're not feeling it, So what you can do is try to work with it when you're not out and about, but make it part of your sadhana, So I know I have this feeling of, just say her feeling of being invisible, but it doesn't come up. I'm not aware of it. I'm not feeling it, but I know it's there because this certain thing happened to me, Then you can try to actively pull it up. You can journal, write to your inner child and say, I know that you have this feeling and it's so down, you're afraid to even tell me about it. Because you're her mother. You're her nurturing, loving mother. So you say, I'm here. I'm going to ask you about it. You're probably uncomfortable now, but we'll keep talking about it. You can write down the memory of what happened that made that feeling happen. But it takes this process of making a relationship with your inner child. So it's not only when she's triggered. And for you, even if it looks like you're not even triggered, it's just, it's there. So it takes some time because basically the inner child, what happens is because most of our inner children were never seen and nurtured and validated the way we needed, what happens is they just shut down. Lights off. They put themselves in a cave and put about, 500 bricks around them. They're like that. So then when you start talking to them and it's like, I know it's there. And they're like, yeah, don't bother. I give up. I give up on ever being seen because I waited for too long and I was hurting for too long. So now I just give up. Just like my mom gave up on me, So it takes a while to build that relation with them and say, I'm here. And then the next day, I'm here. I'm having a cup of tea, just thinking of you. Remember that you don't have to talk about their most painful memory either. You can talk about a happy memory. Just to start making, just like you'd make a relation with any person. You see them regularly, you talk with them about nice things, and then eventually you can maybe talk about the harder thing. It's kind of a weird process, because you're like, am I going crazy? I'm talking to myself, or what the hell? It's a weird process. Babaji and I also made 3 courses, e-courses on the inner child. So we also talk about some ways to get to know your inner child, and it's helpful to hear how he talks about it too. Sometimes you have to kind of get a framework before you can go into your heart and do it. It feels weird. It's like if I tell you, here's how to drive a car, now go drive the car. It's like, what? You don't have the experience of it. So That's also helpful. We have like Getting to Know Your Inner Child is one of the courses, so you can listen to how he's talking about it. And then in one of the courses, I'm giving steps on how to nurture your inner child. You took that, right, Vilas, those courses? Yeah. So it's helpful. It gives you practical tools, and you can listen again and again and use that guide. And one of them, I made an inner child meditation where I nurture your inner child. It's just like a 3-minute recording, because it's really weird to try to nurture your inner child, because how are you going to do that? You're going to do it based on how your mother probably did not nurture you, And even like some of my clients, when I try to nurture their inner child to give them the feeling, they'll say, oh, I hate it when you talk like that. Oh, stop it. And I'm like, I'm being nice to you. Why do you hate it? Oh, it's so uncomfortable for them because their mom never did it, so it feels weird. They're like, ew, it's like syrupy sweet. I'm like, that's what your inner child deserves, someone who's kind and compassionate and soft with them, So it takes a while to, get them to believe that somebody actually cares about them, like you, their mother or their father actually cares about them and is there for them. Good question. Anything else? I didn't bring a clock today, so I'm not sure how we are doing on time. 7:10. Okay, we still have time to read. Any other questions before we keep going?
What was the last?
You attune to the audience online.
What was the last parenting style? There was the
Okay, so there's the authoritarian. We talked about harsh, no warmth, and all rules, Then authoritative is the good one, the best one that we all want to be to our inner child, regardless of how our parents were. So when you think, okay, I want to nurture my inner child, that's the other thing you can do. On our website, there's a whole page for the authoritative parenting style. You can read all about it and go, oh, okay, that's how I do it, So that's authoritative. Then we talked about neglectful, right? Where there's no rules and there's no attention and they're just checked out. Then there's the permissive. Permissive. Huh?
Which is passive, right?
No, permissive is like, I'm your buddy. A lot of warmth, like I'm your buddy, and then the kid turns 12 and it's like, hey, let's have some beers together. And you're like, are you my mom? Or, oh no, you want to smoke pot with me? But aren't you supposed to be my mom? So they don't make any rules. They're drinking alcohol with their kids, if that's popular in wherever your culture is, or if they don't do that, for example, they'll say, can I tell you about your father? We're not having sex anymore. And the kid's like, Mom, I'm 12. I don't want to know about your sex life with Dad. That's gross, And so the mom reveals too much, all their secrets, usually about the father. And then the kid absorbs that all. And so then the kid doesn't really, there's no space for the child to have their feelings seen or their needs met because they're there holding the space for the mom. So warmth is there. The mother will be warm or the father will be warm, but no boundaries. They become buddies. And they'll say, you're my best friend. And then they'll get upset when the kid leaves for college or leaves home. It's like, no, I need you. It's like, wait a minute. Aren't you the mother? Aren't you supposed to be happy for me? So that's a permissive one. Okay? Okay. Anything else? Or keep reading? Reading? You got it, Nayantri? Your inner child's good? Okay. Okay, so where did we leave off here? He was adoring me when I was little, but when I started to have a mind of my own, he couldn't handle it. He'd have these screaming fits. That's how, right, we said authoritarian. He's screaming fits if I dared to disagree with him. He'd call me terrible names. He was really loud and scary. When I was a teenager, he started using money to keep me in line. Sometimes he'd be incredibly generous, which made me feel really loved and safe. But other times he'd humiliate me by making me beg and cry for anything from movie money to school books. I was never sure what my crimes were. I just knew I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to please him. It was never the same 2 days in a row. He kept making it tougher. For Kim, trying to please her father was like running a race in which he was always moving the finish line. The harder she ran, the farther he moved it. She couldn't win. He used money for both reward and punishment, without logic or consistency. He was alternatively generous and stingy with money, just as he was with love and affection. His mixed messages confused her. Her dependency became entangled with his approval. This confusion continued into Kim's adult life. I encouraged my husband to go to work for my father. Oh my God. Oh my God. After all that, you hear all that, and she's like, yeah, go work for my dad. Oh my God. Let's hear how this goes. What a mistake that was. Now he really has us under his thumb. Everything had to be done his way. From choosing an apartment to toilet training the kids. He made Jem's life a living hell at work. So Jem finally quit. My father saw this as another example of Jem's worthlessness, even though Jem got another job. My father really lit into me about that and threatened to stop helping us. But then he did a complete about-face, and for Christmas he bought me a new car. When he handed me the keys, he said, "Don't you wish your husband was rich like me?" Oh my God. Kim's father used his financial power in very cruel and destructive ways while appearing to be magnanimous. He used it to make himself even more indispensable in Kim's eyes and to continually diminish Kim's husband. In this way, he continued to control her long after she left the nest. Now, can you take a guess at one of the main feelings the father was feeling to act like this? If you were the father, what would you be feeling to behave like this? What feeling would be driving this behavior, do you think?
Fear, maybe?
Fear? You want to give her the mic?
Yeah, so fear could be one.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of losing her,
Fear of losing her.
then being on his own.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, so then he's like trying to do things to keep her, right? Fear. What do you think, Vilas?
Maybe also useless and powerless.
Oh, and what do you think, that useless or powerless feeling, what behavior did that drive, do you think?
The behavior of making her dependent on him, like this giving the car, for example, and then saying, "Oh, would you wish that your husband was rich like me?" I think he must have felt very small, powerless, useless, maybe.
Yeah, so then he
Also
makes himself look useful.
on top of the
Right.
fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. So fearful, useless, Malika?
I was thinking he was probably also jealous of the
There
husband.
we go. That's a very subtle one. Very hard to see. What do you think specifically in here, what behavior did you see that would make you think he's jealous?
That he put the husband constantly down. So I was thinking he must have a very strong feeling of possessiveness towards the daughter. So he has to put him down, to the husband down, so that he looks bad, and the father is still the better one.
Very good, right? So he's feeling probably less than the husband. Why? Why would he be feeling less than? So because you said he has to put down, which means he feels less than. So he's going to put him down so he'll feel more than. So what's making him feel less than the husband? What's making the father, you think, feel less than the husband?
That the daughter married him. Oh, that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of being happy, like, oh, I'm so happy my daughter found someone she loves, instead it's like, he took her away from me. Possessive, like you said, he took her away from me. So now he's going to try to just continually slam him so he can feel that he's on top, right? And that may even be the reason he bought the car. Most likely it wasn't because he's just so generous. I love you. Oh, no, it's like I'm feeling so small right now. What can I do to feel like triumphant and superior? Oh, I know. Do something that the husband can't do. And make him look like an ant, you know? What can I do? I'll buy her a car. It's not because I love you so much, honey, you know? He's so pissed off at her and he feels so jealous of him that he feels, he's just stewing in it. It's just the mean words are all just coming out. So he couldn't even nicely give the car. He couldn't even hide it. He could not hide the jealousy, you know? Like, if the jealousy was like, 3 out of 10, he could give the car and be like, I love you, honey, Merry Christmas. But it was just so high that it came out in the words. Like, what did he say? It was so mean, What was the rude thing he said? I bet your husband couldn't give you this. Don't you wish your husband were rich like me? You see what I mean? So that's the thing that's been under there that whole time, I'm less than, now I'm more than, see? And so she how can she even enjoy the car? She probably doesn't realize all that going on, and he doesn't either. But it's spewed out in his words, It
sounds a lot like shame to me, is underneath it. And does shame drive jealousy a lot of the time?
Could be.
It could be a lot of different things, but yeah.
But shame is one of those ones. Shame and jealousy are two feelings that are so subtle. So subtle. So they're like cousins, And they're related. They're very, very, very hard ones to admit and to see that you have that, It's like, in other words, if you're angry, it's going to be pretty obvious. If you're pissed. If you're 10 out of 10, you're going to see something flying across the room, or you're cursing, or you're kicking something, or or you can see it in the face, But that jealousy one is very subtle. You might have no idea. And it will come out in an action or an inaction. Like, you can see, like, why would that person not do that? When all the other people who are not jealous are doing it, for you, then why would that person not do it? It's not because they're just tired, they're jealous. Or why would they do it? Why would they do that? So you have to analyze it, but it's usually, it makes not an obvious thing. Whereas the anger, you're going to slap somebody or kick somebody, and so then it's more, or anxious. You're literally shaking, so then you can tell if someone's anxious, fearful. Oh no, I can't, or sad, they're crying, or angry, but that's shame and jealousy is very deep down and subtle and hard to see. But they're together usually, somehow. Okay. Let's keep going. So where did we leave off? The mean father, right? Kim's father uses financial power in very cruel and destructive ways while appearing... Okay, we said that. Okay. So, Kim's husband... Okay. In this way, he continued to control her long after she left the nest. Can't you do anything right? Many toxic parents control their adult children by treating them as if they were helpless and inadequate, even when this is drastically out of sync with reality. So sometimes about the shame is that if we're feeling shame, and most likely we don't realize it, and it could be shamed literally, I mentioned it in some other classes, but shamed because of how you were potty trained. Because you peed your pants and your parents made fun of you or cursed at you. The shame could be all the way from back then. But it's getting projected onto trying to make other people feel shameful. So he's trying to make them feel like shameful, but it's actually probably because he has so much shame. But he doesn't realize it, and he's not dealing with it. So, because he said that he's treating them as if they're helpless and inadequate, even though it's out of sync with reality. So if they aren't helpless and they aren't inadequate, why does he want to make them feel like that? Because he's feeling so shameful about himself. So he wants them, if you feel helpless and inadequate, you're going to feel shame probably. You may not realize it. So he's got that going on. So he's going to say things that don't even match what's happening to try to make them feel that way, and then he'll feel better about himself. But he's not doing it consciously. That's why I'm saying that shame, those samskaras are not, he's not aware that he's probably doing that. He just can't stand himself, Okay. Martin, a thin, balding, 43-year-old president of a small construction company, supply company, came to see me in genuine panic. He said, "I'm really scared. Something's happening to me. I'm having these fits of temper. It just gets out of control. I've always been a totally non-violent person. But in the last few months, I'm screaming at my wife and kids. I'm slamming doors, and 3 weeks ago, I got so pissed off, I punched a hole in the wall. I'm really scared I'm going to hurt somebody." I complimented him on his courage and foresight to come in for therapy before the problem got out of hand. I asked him who he would have liked to hit when he punched that wall. He laughed bitterly. "That's easy, my old man. No matter how hard I try, he always makes me feel that whatever I'm doing is wrong. Would you believe he has the balls to put me down in front of my own employees?" When Martin saw that, I looked puzzled. He explained, "My father took me into his business 18 years ago, and then he retired a couple of years later. So I've been running the business for 15 years. But every goddamn week my father comes in and starts looking through the accounts. Then he bitches about how I'm handling them. He follows me out of my office screaming about how I'm screwing up his company. Right in front of my employees he does it. Shame, right? That's the best way to humiliate someone. Yell at them in front of your employees, the people who are reporting to you, and your father doing that. The irony is I've turned this business around. I've doubled our profits just in the last 3 years. But he won't leave me alone. Is this man ever going to be satisfied? So this is an interesting one. Can you guys see how it's not about the reality? How his father's treating him has nothing to do with actually what's happening. I mean, he turned the company around, he's doubled the profits, and his dad's screaming and yelling at him about the accounts. So why would that be? Why would that be? Vilas?
Well, because it could be that the father feels jealous about the success of his successor, of his son.
Yeah.
So it's
Again, jealousy of the father. That's right.
of the son.
Yeah, well,
Jealousy
she was
of
saying the father is jealous, but the same. Yeah, the father's jealous again. You know, he's jealous. And so he's going to try to make the son feel shameful, and he's going to do this shape-shifting, which is, he's not even saying what's the reality. He's making something up. And if you're his son, it's very hard not to believe it, actually. Because it's your dad. You grew up believing him. Most of us, even if our dads were abusive, we thought our dads were like Superman. You know, we just loved to have father, 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 you know. So it's hard to realize, oh my God, it's my own father. And he's twisting the story to make me look like I'm inadequate. And he's not celebrating any of my successes. And I've turned the company around, doubled the profits. Why isn't he happy for me? Is he ever going to be satisfied? But what do you think the answer is to that question? No. What would satisfy the father? What would satisfy him?
Inner child work.
Ding, 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 ding. You want to say that on the mic for everybody to hear? It's a good answer.
Inner child work.
Yes, inner child work would satisfy the father. Okay, short of that, if he doesn't find his way into the good graces of inner child work, what would satisfy the father? Because this guy, you know, if he's driven by that relationship of trying to please the father, he's probably going to kill himself. Now he's going to try to triple the profits, you know? But do you see why he's so mad? And it's coming out at home. His father's abusing him and he's passing it along at home, right? Because he's so angry, but he can't take it out on the father. But what do you think would satisfy the father? If he doesn't, you know, and inner child work would take some time, so he's probably still going to have bad behavior for a few years. So what do you think would satisfy the father? Vilas?
If the son said that, admitted how he is so inferior to the father.
If he agreed with everything the father said. So this father's like, you are so inadequate, you can't keep the records, you're screwing up. And he's like, you're right, Dad, I am. I'm so bad at, maybe I should, I don't know, I should like take a demotion. Maybe I should be the janitor and just clean the bathrooms. And the dad would be like, yeah. Probably most likely the father's seeing that the son is smarter than he is. And the son is more qualified than he is. So instead of the father thinking, oh my God, I'm so proud of my son, we're on the same team, we are running this company together and double the profits, the father's competing with his own son. And that's very common, very common. Fathers compete with their sons and mothers compete with their daughters. The daughter's more beautiful. You know, the daughter's more this, that, or the other. And then the mother, instead of the mother being like, wow, my daughter's so beautiful, the mother's like, you know, she might not say it, but she's jealous of the daughter. And she'll do these little jabs, you know? And the father's jealous of the son. Yainshi?
I was thinking what could satisfy the father could also be that if he does a mistake and all the people call out and try to criticize him a lot, then maybe he can be happy. I told you that.
Yeah, see how stupid my son is? Yeah. Like when he calls the son out, that everybody starts trashing and being like, you're right to the father. So remember the way the ahankara works, okay? Remember? So the father is feeling like this. Why? Because the son is probably really good at the job, maybe better than him, right? So then the father either has to do things to bring the son down so the father can feel in his rightful place of ahankara, I'm number one, the smartest, the best at everything, better than you, my son, of course, you know? Or, so he did that, right, to humiliate him and ostracize him in front of his employees. Or, what's the other option? The father's feeling like this. So one is shoot the son down. What's the other option for the father to feel better? Pump himself up. Right? Good. Pump.
Get his own project going and
Yeah.
like have a life of his own that is satisfactory.
Yeah.
for me.
So get his own project going, have a life of his own, but that's kind of hard work, right? So let's imagine the father's not very insightful. He's not going to realize that. In other words, what's the cheap way to do it, the cheap shot? So either smash his son down in the other cheap way for him to feel like this to the son. Smash the son down, or?
You doubled the profits because you're my son.
Okay, so that's pumping himself up. Good. Pumping himself up. So he doesn't want to feel like this to his son, and he certainly doesn't want to feel like that. This is father. He wants to feel like this. So either he can knock himself son down or pump himself up. So either take credit for his son's work. That's a popular one. Take credit for his son's work. What else? How else could he do it? Take credit for his son's work. How else can he pump himself up? Or can he be pumped up? I'll give you a hint. What could his son do to make him feel? Yes, Mohini?
By making the son feel gratitude towards the father.
Exactly. So the son has to pump him up. So when the dad trashes him, he's like, you're right, I'm the worst, I'm horrible. And the dad's like, see, you're so inadequate. Yes, I am. And then give examples of how inadequate you are. Then the dad's like, yeah. And then the dad wants you to think he's so great, right? You know that. That's the ahankara game. So then you have to tell him if you're the son and you want to keep your job. and you don't get so emotionally, you're just like, okay, he needs a bone. The dog needs the bone. So you just give him the bone and you say, what? Vilas?
Yes. Our most profitable accounts, they were all gained by you. And it's because of your success only that now we're having this great business. Right?
Exactly. And you know what he would love to hear? What is the relationship? Remember the ahankara. It's your sense of identity. Who's father?
And everything I learned from you also.
Yes. It's a son. Never outshine your master. That's his master. Don't come and show me you're better than me. I've changed your diapers, please, So father is here. Father, master, the son. So son has to say, everything I learned from you to make it profitable, and I barely did anything. Can you teach me more? And literally, even if he knows, to sit there with the father and try to learn from him, that'll make the relationship smooth. So is your goal to be right or to have a smooth relation? If it's to have a smooth relation, then understand the ahankara of the other person. And that father's totally triggered because the son is not seeing that will always be less than the father his whole life, because that's how they came into this world, father and son. So the father's not feeling respected, most likely. So what is he going to do? Make the son feel disrespected as much as possible, especially in the front of a group of people. But once you see it, it's not so hard to fix it. You have to humble yourself down. The son has to and say, ooh, I'm son. I should be respectful to father, praise him, and admit my mistakes. Because the father's not 100% wrong in the mistakes either, most likely, when what he's seeing the mistakes. Okay? So good job, you guys. I hope you had fun. Haribol.